There's an island in the Pacific where the money is too heavy to move. And one family is considered rich, genuinely, officially rich, because of a stone that sank to the bottom of the ocean 100 years ago. Nobody alive has ever seen it. We'll get to that. But first, look at what we've collected. A cowrie shell from the coast of the Maldives. A handful of salt from an Ethiopian mine. A gold nugget from the rivers of Lydia. A coin stamped with the owl of Athena. A denarius that paid a Roman legionary. A bronze disc with a square hole, threaded on a cord in Chang'an. 7 episodes. Thousands of years. Dozens of objects. One question we've been circling the entire time. What makes money, money? Today, we answer that. And the answer is stranger than you'd expect. This is the final episode of Part 1. And it's where everything comes together. Over 7 episodes, we've dismantled the old story. Barter was never the universal system textbooks described. 6. Gift economies and debt came before coins. 6. Commodity money took 1,000 different forms across cultures. 10. And the first minted coins solved a specific problem, trust in weight and purity. 10. We've seen the pieces. Now it's time for the puzzle to snap together. To understand what money really is, we need to visit an island in the middle of the Pacific Ocean. In the western Pacific, about 1,500 kilometers east of the Philippines, lies Yap. A small island. A few thousand people. And one of the strangest monetary systems ever devised. Their currency was stone. Massive, circular limestone discs called rai. Some over 3 meters across. Heavier than a car. 8. The stones were quarried on Palau, over 400 kilometers away, and transported by canoe across open ocean. The voyage was dangerous. Sometimes deadly. 8. That difficulty was part of the point. A rai stone carried at the cost of human lives was worth more than one quarried nearby. But here's the thing that makes rai stones essential for understanding money. They didn't move. When ownership changed to pay for land or settle a dispute, the stone stayed exactly where it was. 7. Everyone in the village simply knew it now belonged to someone else. No receipt. No contract. The community's shared memory was the ledger. And that's where it gets truly strange. Milton Friedman, the Nobel laureate, wrote a famous essay about Yap in 1991. He told the story of a family that was considered wealthy by everyone on the island, even though their most valuable rai stone had sunk to the bottom of the ocean during transport. Generations earlier. 7. Nobody alive had ever seen it. Nobody could touch it. Nobody could point to it. But everyone agreed it existed. Everyone agreed it belonged to that family. And so, that family was rich. Think about that for a moment. Money that nobody can see. Nobody can hold. Nobody can move. But that everyone agrees has value. Sounds absurd? Friedman didn't think so. He compared it to the Federal Reserve Bank of New York, where gold bars belonging to different countries sit in the same vault. When France pays Germany, nobody ships gold across the Atlantic. A clerk relabels which shelf belongs to whom. 7. The gold doesn't move. Just like the rai stone. Every time you tap your card at a store, you're doing the same thing. Numbers shift between accounts. Nothing physical moves. The Yappies figured this out centuries ago. So what makes money money? It's not the material. Cowrie shells are fragile sea creatures. Salt dissolves in water. Cattle die. Gold is soft and heavy. Paper burns. And rai stones sit at the bottom of the ocean. None of these objects has any inherent magical quality that makes it money. What they all share is something you can't touch, a community of people who agree that this object represents value. 5. Every form of money we've studied this season is a social technology. 5. A shared agreement that a certain token can be exchanged for goods and services. The token works not because of what it is, but because of what everyone believes it is. 10. Jeffrey Ingham, a sociologist who spent decades studying money, put it simply: money is a promise to pay. A social relation, not a thing. 5. David Graeber, the anthropologist from episode 2, argued the same point differently. Money is a technology for measuring obligations. Rooted, always, in trust. 6. Stay with me, because this is where it gets interesting. If money is trust, where does that trust come from? This is one of the oldest arguments in economics. Over a century of disagreement. And neither side has won. Two schools of thought, both with real evidence. Understanding both is essential. The first is cartelism. In 1905, the German economist George Friedrich Knapp published The State Theory of Money. His argument was provocative: money is a creature of law. 1. It has value because the state says it does. His logic: if the government demands that taxes must be paid in a particular token, then every citizen needs that token. Demand is guaranteed. The token becomes money. 1. Keynes endorsed this idea in his 1930 treatise on money. 1. Modern versions, sometimes called modern money theory, continue developing the cartelist framework today. 2. The historical evidence is real. Lydian coins backed by royal authority. Roman denarii bearing the emperor's face. Chinese banliang as a state monopoly from day one. Throughout history, governments have created, managed, and sometimes destroyed currencies. But there's another story. In 1892, the Austrian economist Karl Menger offered a completely different account. Money, he argued, was not invented by any government. It emerged spontaneously from exchange. 3. His logic: in a world of barter, some goods are more saleable than others. Easier to trade. More durable. More widely accepted. Over time, people naturally gravitate toward using the most saleable good as a medium of exchange. Not because anyone told them to. Because it works. 3. Menger's words: money has not been generated by law. In its origin it is a social, and not a state institution. 3. The evidence is also real. Cowrie shells became money across Africa, India, and China, often without any state involvement. 10. Salt, cattle, and grain served as money in communities with little centralized authority. Remember the gift economies from our early episodes? No king decreed those. So who's right? The economist Charles Goodhart tackled this in an influential 1998 paper. He framed it as C theory versus M theory and argued that the dominance of metalism in mainstream economics has sometimes led to flawed policy conclusions. 4. The truth, as Goodhart and others have suggested, may be that both forces operate in different contexts. 4. Some monies arose from markets. Others were imposed by states. Many were shaped by both. This debate is genuinely unresolved. That's not a failure of economics. It's a sign that money is more complex than any single theory can capture. We've been talking about trust as an abstraction. Let's make it concrete. What happens when trust in money doesn't just weaken? What happens when it evaporates? Zimbabwe found out. In the early 2000s, political instability and the collapse of agricultural production sent Zimbabwe's economy into a spiral. The government, unable to collect enough tax revenue, began printing money. 9. Prices began to rise. Then they rose faster. Then they exploded. By November 2008, economists Steve Hanke and Alex Kwok calculated that Zimbabwe's monthly inflation rate had reached 79.6 billion%. 9. They used black market exchange rates because the government had stopped publishing statistics. Prices doubled roughly every 24 hours. A loaf of bread that cost $1 in the morning cost $2 by evening. People stopped counting bills. They weighed them. The Zimbabwean dollar became worthless. Not gradually, catastrophically. People switched to barter, South African rand, US dollars, anything that still held trust. 9. In 2009, Zimbabwe officially suspended its own currency. Money is collective agreement. Zimbabwe proves the corollary. When the agreement breaks, the money dies. A government can print all the bills it wants. But if the people don't believe in it, it's just paper. Every time you hand over a banknote, swipe a card, or tap your phone to pay, you are participating in an act of collective faith. You trust that the number on the screen means something. You trust that tomorrow, it will mean roughly the same thing. You trust that the person behind the counter trusts it too. This trust is invisible. You cannot hold it in your hand. But it is the single most important feature of every monetary system ever created. From cowrie shells to digital euros. When that trust holds, civilizations flourish. Athens built the Parthenon. Rome unified 3 continents. China administered an empire for 2,000 years. When trust breaks, economies collapse. Rome debased its denarius from 95% silver to 2. Zimbabwe printed $100 trillion bills. The people of Yap understood this intuitively. They didn't need to move their stones. They just needed everyone to agree. We are not so different. 1. Money is not defined by its material, it is collective agreement. 2. Cartelism, money from the state. Metallism, money from the market. Both have evidence. 3. When trust collapses, so does money. Zimbabwe proved it. 4. Money is a social technology, the most powerful one humanity has ever created. 4 things to take with you. First, money is not the material. Shells, salt, gold, stones at the bottom of the ocean, they all worked because a community agreed they were money. Second, where does money come from, the state or the market? Both sides have real evidence. Honest inquiry means holding both. Third, money depends on trust. Zimbabwe showed what happens when trust is destroyed. Hyperinflation is the collapse of a social contract. Fourth, money is a social technology. Perhaps the most powerful one our species has ever invented. It allows strangers to cooperate and civilizations to scale beyond anything barter could support. We started this season in a Neolithic village, trading wheat for obsidian. We moved through gift economies and Sumerian debt tablets. We held cowrie shells and salt bars. We watched a Lydian king stamp the first coin, then followed owls, denarii, and banliang across continents in millennia. Now we know what money is. Formalized trust. Collective agreement. A social technology so powerful it built every civilization we've studied. But that's only half the story. The other half? What money does. In Part 2, we explore the 3 functions of money. The 3 jobs that every form of money must perform. How money measures value. How it enables exchange. How it stores wealth across time. These 3 functions shape every economy on Earth. And understanding them will change how you see every transaction you make. That's where we're going next.